Ladies and gentlemen, TNA Wrestling is back, and it's back with a bang. Last weekend, the company had a set of shows in Las Vegas as they presented their first event since rebranding back to Total Nonstop Action, Hard to Kill, followed by TV tapings for iMPACT and the returning Explosion, which I'm psyched to see make a comeback. Still no word here at Wrestling Insight on exactly what day of the week and which platform or channel the company is putting it on. However, I'm sure we will find out very soon. Hard to Kill was a fantastic pay-per-view with great reception, though, especially at the end of the show as brand new TNA World Champion Moose took home the W over long-reigning champ Alex Shelley, only to get a surprise attack afterwards from the debuting former Dolph Ziggler, now Nic Nemeth. They say he's a wanted man, and I gotta agree with that. His Hard to Kill debut clip has 1.2 million and counting views for TNA. And his iMPACT promo with Steve Maclin from Thursday night is about to hit 700,000 as I record this. That's amazing numbers for TNA on YouTube and has the potential to bring in serious business and profit for TNA if only 1 or 2% of these new eyes on the product, thanks to Nick, opt to follow his run and sign up for TNA Plus or the YouTube Ultimate Insiders program. And they followed up a superb pay-per-view event in Hard to Kill with an episode of iMPACT that, in my opinion, was just entertaining from start to finish. Not a single dull spot to be seen anywhere on the show, and it was true total non-stop action. The Division Scramble match that saw the impressive Jake Something come out on top, an excellent couple of promos and vignettes from Will Ospreay and Ash by Elegance. Loving that gimmick, by the way. It reminds me of a modern female Rick the Model Martel. Then you had a successful singles debut in TNA on the show for the beautiful and talented Zia Brookside, and a great tag match between James Drake and Zach Gibson, the Grizzled Young Vets, and the team of Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian. Now, I want to talk about this match for a minute because it was one of my highlights of the night. I haven't followed NXT in many, many years, so I was completely unfamiliar with Drake and Gibson before their TNA debuts, but the Grizzled Young Vets are money. Great workers, great psychology and teamwork, and their charisma and ring presence are both there. 2 more excellent new signings for Scott Dmore and TNA, and needless to say, considering how much praise I just threw their way, they were able to put on a tag team clinic with the likes of Frankie Kazarian and Eric Young on the show. Thoroughly enjoyed this match that saw Drake and Gibson come out on top, leading to a Kaz turn on Eric Young that the crowd freaking ate up and added to with boos and chants. It was great stuff. And I can't wait to see the Grizzled Young Vets challenge ABC for the tag straps down the road. The tag team division will be holding its weight on the card this year. I can guarantee you of that. We were then treated to an entertaining but much too short vignette from The System, who were out on the town in Vegas celebrating Moose's world title win in style. And speaking of that tag division, along with the Grizzled Young Veterans, Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards are poised to contend for the gold as well. Big fan of both of those guys and The System as a whole. Those two holding the tag straps beside Moose and his world championship would be a very nice sight for my pro wrestling fan eyes. The System was followed by Nic Nemeth's debut promo that's going viral, as I mentioned earlier. Nick's underrated on the mic. The dude never slips and is always crisp and genuine in his delivery, and you can't ask for much more than that. The same excellent level of performance was brought to the table here by Steve Maclin, who interrupted Nemeth and set up what one would imagine is Nick's first TNA feud. And you can't complain with that. Those guys are going to put on some bangers. I'm stoked. The first episode of iMPACT in the new TNA era was headlined, though, by the first contender for Match of the Year, if you ask me. Alexander vs. Ospreay 2. What a main event. As a guy that was admittedly clueless on Ospreay's work heading into this episode of Impact, I can see why so many love the guy. I've never seen his work prior, and I'm not going to go out of my way to watch him in AEW or anything, because everyone who watches my channel knows I'm not a fan of AEW. But after this match and his earlier promo, I'm bummed out that Scott Dmore wasn't able to sign this guy. His promos are good, well delivered, and energetic. His skill in the ring is possibly unmatched. Everything he does is crisp and on the money. I want to point out and talk for a second, though, about the table spot in this match. And man, oh man, what a spot it was. It was suspenseful, the build up to the spot. And the spot itself looked vicious, only using a table. Both men took plenty of time to sell it, especially Will Ospreay. And it probably hurt him more, that sit-out powerbomb through the table. But man, the placement and the delivery, just everything. Beautiful. Yes, he's a Meltzer darling who actually takes the time to slow down and sell. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, a run for him in TNA would have produced so many classic matches, but the only downside is the man just doesn't have name value where it matters most, and that's here in the United States, or at least here for me where I record the show. So, I guess everything worked out best for everyone. Ospreay got more money out of Tony Khan than TNA could have ever offered him, and losing the battle for Ospreay freed those funds up for TNA to pursue names that are just simply more recognizable to the casual fan. And that's what this company needs to regain its footing and recoup all of those lapsed fans from the 2000s. It needs recognizable names. But Will Ospreay definitely made me a fan here with this week's episode of Impact. And I sincerely hope that Tony Khan doesn't screw the guy's career up. In fact, I hope he builds upon the name that Ospreay already has in the business. It's just that, has Tony Khan built up and benefited the career of anyone in his company? Really think about that for a minute. Word is, it's why Nick is in Total Nonstop Action and not Tony Khan's real-life wrestling figure toy box. Anyways, Josh Alexander got the win in the main event over Will Ospreay as TNA continues to put him over as the backbone and face of the company. This was a fantastic couple of days of tapings for Josh. 2 wins over a couple of internet darlings, and both bouts were critically acclaimed as he continues to fill that kind of modern-day AJ Styles role for the company more than adequately enough. Him and Nemeth will put on one hell of a match whenever they go toe-to-toe, I'm positive. Following up here, the end of the show was capped off by Scott Dmore, who came down to the ring following Alexander Ospreay 2 for a heartfelt, passionate speech about TNA that had the fans cheering and me ready to see what comes next. Look, I'm loving pretty much everything they did in the Vegas tapings that I've seen so far, guys. And we have one more episode of Impact from those Vegas tapings. That's next week's episode. And here's what TNA has on tap for us with next week's show. Nic Nemeth makes his TNA in-ring debut against Zachary Wentz of the Rascals. New TNA Knockouts champion Jordan Grace defends the strap against Trinity in a rematch from Hard to Kill. And in the main event, Okada and the Motor City Machine Guns team up to face TNA World Heavyweight Champion Moose, Brian Myers, and Eddie Edwards, the System, in a 6-man tag team match. Yeah, it's safe to say that none of those matches will disappoint, and with only 3 bouts to fill the 2 hours, it leaves a lot of room for promos, vignettes, and story building and telling. Unless there's some matches that I just haven't heard about that are going to be on next week's show. But promos, vignettes, story building, and telling, all things that TNA does well and that I could use more of in their programming. 20 to 30 minute matches are great and all, but I'm part of that demographic that would rather see those sparingly so that they can feel special when they do happen, and just let it happen amongst the very best of workers. Put way more focus on the storytelling aspects of the show. That's what we need. That's what pro wrestling needs. Let's go heavy on the characters and storytelling again, guys. Anyways, just wanted to pop in here on the channel with my feelings about how the newly rebranded TNA is doing so far. I know my new TNA Plus subscription isn't going anywhere. This is my new favorite promotion nowadays. And I'm going to be following what they're doing through the entirety of 2024. But I would like to hear what you're thinking so far. Chime in on the comments to let me know if you're enjoying this new era of TNA so far. And if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to click that like button and follow if you aren't already for more TNA wrestling coverage moving forward. Until next time, guys, take it easy.